In this step-by-step tutorial video, I'm going to show you how to create an AI agent that's not just smart, but is specifically trained to understand and interact with your documents that even ChatGPT can't match. Whether you're dealing with lengthy contracts, research papers, or any complex document, this AI agent can dive deep into the details and give you the exact information that you're looking for. We're going to build this agent with a great automation tool called n8n and utilize Pinecone database to convert your documents into vectors for AI processing. If those terms sound too complicated, don't worry, I'm going to explain everything in detail, so even if you're a beginner, it will all make sense to you. So stick around till the end, because what you learned today could transform the way you handle your data and give you a deeper understanding of the technology that makes it all possible. Alright, so let's jump right in. So this is going to be split into two different steps. The first step is going to be inserting our document into a vector database. So we're going to grab our document, whatever document that is, a research paper, a lengthy contract, grab it and put it in our Google Drive, and we're going to add that into a vector database. And in this instance, we're going to use Pinecone to convert that document into vectors. And again, I'm going to explain what these terms are and what a vector database is in a little bit, but just to kind of give you an overview, once it's converted, then we'll be able to utilize our second part of this automation, which is what we will be able to chat with or use email as a trigger to be able to interact with the document or with this database and pull up the exact information that we need. So that's kind of the overall gist of it. And then obviously we're going to be utilizing our OpenAI API account to be able to handle all of this. All right, so that's kind of the overview. So the first thing we need to do is build this step, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm here on my new workflow. So I'm gonna name this document AI agent, let's say. All right, that's good. Okay, so for the first step, we're gonna leave this as manual. And again, there's not a lot of detail into this. You just leave it as it is, because we'll be able to grab this information on our second step to be able to either with it or use our email trigger. So first, what we need to do is add our Google Drive account. So let's go ahead and quickly do that. I'm gonna show you how to add the Google Drive account and utilize the Google APIs to be able to create credentials. So I'm going to search for Google Drive. There it is. So once you click on Google Drive, you have several options here. We're going to be downloading our document from Google Drive, so therefore we're going to use the download file here. Okay, so let's go ahead and connect our Google Drive account. I already have an account, but I'm going to show you step by step how to do this, because I know this is kind of annoying because Google Drive is a little bit complicated. So let's go ahead and add new credentials. If you already have a Google account and know how to do this, then go ahead and skip this step. But this is for people who don't know how to add their Google account into n8n. So you're going to click on create new credentials. So n8n gives you really good documentation on step by step on how to do this. So if you get lost, or if there's something that's doesn't make any sense, go ahead and take a look at that. So you're going to need a Google Cloud account. So I'm going to click on Google Cloud from here, or you can just Google it and get there. So you're going to log in if you haven't already logged in. I'm already logged in, and then on the top right hand here, it says console. You're going to click on console. All right, so this is where you'll create a new project. I've already done that, but let's go ahead and start new. So I'm going to click on new project, and you can name the project. I'm going to name this n8n test 2. All right, organization, that's fine. You're going to click on create. So now the project is being created. Once the project gets created, you want to make sure that from the drop down, you are selecting the correct project, because otherwise it won't make sense. So let's click on this and click on n8n test 2. All right, so now we're inside of our project. Now we're going to create our API credentials to be able to attach it to our n8n account. And you're going to do that by coming in and clicking on the API and services. Once you're here, we're going to come and click on OAuth consent screen, because we need to create our consent screen. So for the type, if you have a Google workspace, you're going to use internal, but if you have a personal account, you're going to click on external and click on create. Here you'll name your app. So I'm just going to say n8n test 2. For the user prompt support, use your email. Logo, don't worry about that stuff. For domain, here's what you need to do. In here, you're going to click on add domain, and you're going to put n8n.cloud. Okay. All right, and then for the developer contact, I'm gonna select my email again, and you're going to save and continue. So once this is done, it gives you these things regarding scopes. Don't worry about that. Click on save and continue, and test users not necessary. Click on save and continue. And then now you're pretty much done with creating an OAuth screen. So now what we need to do is enable our APIs. And the way you do that is clicking on library, and you're going to search for Google Drive here. So these are all the APIs that Google gives you access to. You can select Gmail, Google Drive, Google Calendar, all of that good stuff. So I'm going to click on Google Drive API, and you're going to click on enable. All right, so Google API is enabled. Let's go ahead and also add our Gmail account, Gmail API. So I'm going to click on Gmail API, and enable. And the reason why I'm doing this is because on our second step, when we create our trigger, could be a chat or our Gmail. So that way we'll be able to connect this later on. So I'm kind of thinking ahead. All right, so now that's done. We're gonna go to credentials now. Click on credentials, and then come here and click on create credentials. And you're gonna click on OAuth client ID. From here, the application type will be a web application. You're gonna name it. So I'm gonna say n8n test 2. And you're going to add, this is an important step. You're going to come down here and authorize redirect URIs, and you're going to click on add URI. You're going to go back to your account to n8n, and right here, you're going to copy this callback URI. Go back there and paste this and create. All right, once you're done with that step, you're going to immediately be presented with your OAuth client ID and client secret, and this is exactly what you need to copy in your n8n account. So you're going to click your client ID, come here and paste, client secret, come here and paste. And now the sign in with Google appears. So because I've already done that, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this and use my existing account. But that's all of the steps. So once you click on sign in with Google, there's going to be a pop-up that's going to tell you, hey, this account is not published. You're going to click on advanced, and you're going to allow n8n to have access to your account. And that's pretty much it. After that, you'll be connected. And once you're done with that step, you're going to come back and you will see that now your account has been connected. And again, because I've already have my account connected, I'm just going to select mine. And then from here, our resource is going to be a file, and our operation is going to be download. Okay. So for the file, you have several options here. You can either do from a list, a URL, or by ID. A URL is if you want to add your Google Drive URL, the file that's on your Google Drive, and you want to add the URL, you could do that. Or you can select from list, and this will have access to all of the file that's inside of your Google Drive. So I have several documents in there. For now, I'm just going to choose the Constitution of the United States PDF document, and we'll come back and add more complex PDFs at the end to be able to interact with it. All right, so we're pretty much done there. So let's go ahead and test this. I like testing every step to be able to make sure that my nodes are working. So I'm going to click on test step. And it should be able to download. There you go. Now it downloaded this document from my Google Drive. And as you can see right on my Google Drive, I have this Constitution. So that got downloaded. And I can even click on view to make sure that the right document was downloaded. And as you can see, it's good to go. All right. So now that step is done. And you can see that the green check marks are there. So the next step, we need to add this Google Drive, this document, into our Pinecone database. So first of all, before we understand a vector database, we need to understand what a vector is, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at this example. So let's say you have a huge collection of photos on your computer, and you want to find photos that look similar to a particular photo that you're looking for. If you were to do this manually, this will take you a long time, right? So this is where a vector database come into handy. Again, this is a very simple explanation of this, but this will give you a good understanding of what it is, right? So what a vector is essentially a list of numbers that represents something in a mathematical way. So for example, if you have a photo, the machine learning model will turn that photo into a vector, which is a list of numbers that captures different important features of that photo. So let's take a look at an example, because I always understand things with example a lot better. So let's say you're running a website or some kind of a service where users can upload photos of dogs, for example, right? So you want to create a feature that automatically recommends similar photos when somebody uploads a new one. So here's how you do it, right? So let's say the photo gets uploaded, and you can think of this funnel as your database, vector database, or your system in this case. You would take that photo, convert it to a vector, you would store that vector in a database, you would compare the other vectors that are similar to that, and then you'll be able to recommend similar photos for that user as an output. So that essentially gives you an overall understanding of how the vector database stores input and recommends an output. So now that we know that, we're going to add our database here. We're going to go to Pinecone. This is one of the most popular vector databases, and you're going to sign up for an account. I already have an account, so I'm going to log in. You can sign up for free. They have a really good free tier. Let me go ahead and sign in. I'm going to do it with Google. So once you log in, you'll be brought back here, and you're going to click on projects if you already haven't, and you're going to create a project. So I'm going to name it n8n files and create project. With the free user account, you are only allowed to have one project, but that's good enough. All right. So, and then we're going to click on create index. So we're inside of our project file, and we're just going to name our file. We're going to just say n8n files. Actually, what I'm just going to say n8n. Okay. Configuration. So we can do this by set up by model. So there's several types of configuration depending on what kind of embeddings you're using. And text embedding is essentially what the data is going to get converted by these different models. OpenAI already has several models. So there's that embedding 3 small, 3 large. But for us, we're just going to choose this text embedding 3 small. And dimensions are basically the length of the vectors that I explained earlier. Okay, so that's good. We're going to select service, leave it that it is. Cloud provider, you're going to select on AWS. And it doesn't matter where you are. For the free version, you have to select the Virginia East region. So I'm going to click on that. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to click on create index. So now it's going to initialize our index. And we'll be able to, all right, that's good. So we're pretty much done. And at this point, it says no records yet because we haven't added anything to our database. So now that we're done there, we're going to go ahead and come to our API keys. I'm going to go ahead and create a new API key. I'm going to click a API key. I'm just call it n8n, create API key. And I'm going to go ahead and copy the value. So once you're done, all right, so now that's done. We have our Pinecone database created. So now let's go ahead and add that here, right? So we're going to click on add, and I'm going to search and look for Pinecone because n8n already has a integration with them. So I'm going to click on Pinecone vector store. Oops, I think I clicked on the wrong one. Yep, I clicked on the wrong one. Get rid of this. And you can look at it, you can find it through here. So if you click on advanced AI, other nodes, you can come to vector stores, and they have several vector stores. So they have integration with Supabase, which is also a vector store, Quadrant, and Pinecone. So I'm going to click on Pinecone. So here you're going to select your account. Again, I'm going to create new credentials and add my API key. And I'm going to click on save. That's done. Let me go back. Let me actually get rid of this other one. Yeah, let me get rid of this because I removed it. All right, that's good. So for operation mode, this is going to be where we need to insert our document that's coming in from our Google Drive. So therefore, we're going to click on operation mode and select insert documents. And now from here, you'll be able to select either by ID or by list. I'm going to click on list. And once you click on choose, it will load the file that we created, the index that we created on our database there earlier. So that's good to go. So now let's go ahead and double check to make sure we're good to go. That's done. So now we're going to add our embedding to this as well, right? So let's go ahead and first of all, let's go ahead and collect this here. Perfect. For our embedding, we're going to be choosing our OpenAI embedding. OpenAI account. If you don't have an OpenAI account, you need to go ahead and create your API account and then come back here and select your account. Models, I'm going to select the 3 small. That's good enough. All right, now that's done. Documents, so we need to add a document loader to this. So we're going to select the default document loader, and for the type we're going to do binary, and for the mode we're going to say load all input data. And again, this is asking it what kind of a document or what kind of data is being imported or loaded to our Pinecone database. And we're gonna use load all input data, meaning we don't want to specify the type of document, because otherwise if you say, because you can specify it by PDF, by text, or whatever it may be, and in the bottom you could select the data format here, but I'm just going to say automatically detected, so that way no matter what document we upload, it should be able to process that. So now that that's done, we're good to go there. So for text splitter, so we're going to click and grab our recursive character splitter. Again, this splits the text into different chunks, where then the model or the database will be able to have that big document split into different chunks. So therefore, it'll be a lot easier for the AI model to be able to find it and interact with it. Chunk size, depending how big your documents is, so this is very, very important. Let's say if you have a very large document, you need to make sure that you're putting like 5,000 or 4,500. But if you have a medium-sized document, you can put 3,000 here, and chunk overlap, I'm gonna put 200. So the chunk overlap means that when your big document is being split into different chunks, you need to make sure you have a few hundred words that are overlapping, so that way the AI model is grabbing the correct information. So it's almost like a continuation, so that's what the chunk overlap means. But if you put 200, now that's good to go. All right, so now that step is done. Let's go ahead and test this now. So I'm gonna double click on this. So this is what the document that's coming in from our Google Drive here, right? So let's go ahead and test this. So now we should be able to see this being converted into vectors, because right now that's just a PDF document. And as you can see, this is what happened, right? It converted it into vectors. And the way we can determine this is by going to our Pinecone database again, clicking on indices, and now we should be able to click on our n8n. And as you can see, now we have our document that's got converted into vectors. And you can click on show more here and be able to see the different parts of the document that got split into chunks and got converted into vectors. Okay, so now that's good to go. Now that we know that our document got converted into vectors and got added into our Pinecone database, we're going to go back and click out of this. And as you can see, it says 29 items, which means that 29 items were received from our Pinecone vector database. Okay, so this step is done. Now we're going to build our next step, which will allow us to interact with this document that got converted into a vector database, right? So let's go ahead and move this to a side. So I'm going to add a trigger. So we have two options. We can add a trigger with the chat, or you can connect your email and add that as a trigger. But for now, we're going to do our chat, and then later on, I'm going to explain how you can add a email as well. So let's go ahead and leave that as it is. We're going to bring this over here. So here, for the next step, we can either add an AI agent. So we can add an AI agent here. We can come in and advanced AI, and you can do an actual agent, or you can do a question and answer chain. So this is basically an instance of LangChain if you're not familiar with LangChain. So this basically allows you to add additional tools and parameters to be able to interact with the chat. And again, it's essentially an AI agent. So if you can think about it from in simple matters. All right, so we'll leave it as it is, meaning that this will take from previous node automatically, which means our chat. And we can grab our model here, and we'll add our OpenAI chat model. Load your account. I'm gonna actually use GPT-4 mini. That's good to go. The retriever. So this is where we will retrieve the information for this question and answer chain from our vector store. Therefore, we're going to choose our vector store retriever. You leave the limit to 4, that's fine. So now we need to connect this to a vector store, right? So therefore, we're going to click on the plus sign here, and we're going to use our Pinecone vector store because that's where our data lies. So this time, instead of inserting documents, we're going to retrieve documents for this agent. So we're going to select that. And you can actually even tell the way it actually looks different. As you can see, it's kind of circular because it doesn't have this option to connect it to a separate node, as you can see on this one, where this one was inserting document node. Okay, so let's double click on this. We have our Pinecone account. Make sure that's good to go. Make sure you select retrieve here. And for the index, we're going to choose our n8n again. All right, that's good. Now we need to attach this to an embedding, and we're going to add our OpenAI embedding. And obviously you have all the options from different large language models here as well. But I'm going to choose my embeddings OpenAI. And for the embedding, I'm going to select my embedding 3 small. All right, so now that's pretty much it. We are pretty much done building our entire automation. So now let's go ahead and test this, right? I'm going to click on chat. So now we should be able to interact with our document from our Google Drive. And in this case, it's our the Constitution of the United States. That's what I added. So let's go ahead and ask it a particular question. Let's say, what does the Second Amendment say? So now let's see, you want to make sure that it's grabbing the answer from our Pinecone database, and there you go. See, the amendment second states, a well-regulated militia being necessary to security of free state, the right of the people to keep bear arms. All right, good. So now, as you can see on the right-hand side, the vector store retriever was activated, and it went to the Pinecone vector store and grabbed the necessary information and spit it out and gave us the answer. So it means that our process worked perfectly. As you can see on the steps here, it was able to retrieve that information from our document. So now let's go ahead and actually add another, let's actually, you know what, and before I do that, let's try to ask it a bit of a complicated question to make sure that this is working properly. All right, so this time I'm going to ask it, what is the process outlined in the Constitution for amending it, and how many amendments have been made so far? So let's go ahead and ask that. All right, perfect. There you go. Now it gives you proper answer from our documentation. As you can see, this is very powerful because it's not utilizing just a general large language model like ChatGPT, right? It's specifically retrieving information from the document that was inserted to our vector database, and it was retrieved by this step. So let's go ahead and try to add another document here to make sure that it's giving us the right answer. Okay, so this time I'm gonna grab NVIDIA's investor presentation. Okay, so I'm gonna Google that real quickly, and let me bring that over here. So this is what I grabbed. I just found it from Google. So let's go ahead and download this. Okay, that's done. I'm gonna go ahead and add this to my Google Drive. Come here, file upload. Okay, so it got uploaded, as you can see right here. It says NVIDIA F1 Q25 quarterly presentation. So let's go ahead and upload that into our vector database and interact with it, right? So I'm gonna go to my Google Drive, and this time from the list, I'm gonna click on this, and this should be able to pull up that, and it's right here, NVIDIA F1 Q24, all right, it's that one. All right, so let's test this to make sure that this gets uploaded properly. Let's view. Investor presentation Q2, boom, boom. All right, that's good. So let's go ahead and test this out as well. So we want to make sure that this gets converted into vectors and gets uploaded to vector store. And as you can see, this step is complete. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and chat with this, right? So I'm going to click on chat. So let's ask it something smart. So I'm going to go ahead and say, how did NVIDIA's data center revenue grow in Q1 FY25 compared to the previous year, and what were the key drivers behind this growth? So this should be specific to this document. It should be able to grab that because we uploaded that, and there you go, right? So now it's giving you that answer. So NVIDIA's data center revenue grew by 427% year over year, reaching 22.6 billion. And again, this is specific to that particular document. And to double check this, I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Let's say, all right, so let's search and make sure that this is giving us the proper data. So I'm just going to search for 427% because this is what it said, right? This is what it said, that NVIDIA's data grew by 427%. So let's make sure that that number exists and it's not pulling it out of nowhere. So if I search 427%, 427%, why is this not working? Oh, there you go. All right, so here in the document, as you can see, yep, year over year, 427% increase in cash flow from ops. So it makes, it gives you that answer in a very structured way, but it's actually pulling the data from these resources. So it's not like it's making things up, right? It's interacting with the document, and this is where the power of this AI agent comes in. From this document, in order to find that specific answer, you would have to dig through and convert and look at these different charts, look at these different numbers, and figure out what makes sense, what's the answer to that question. But with our AI agent, you can just chat with it, and you can see the power of this agent where it gives you really specific data that you can retrieve from every single part of this data that we're uploading. And that's, again, thanks to the vector store, because it's dividing the entire content of this document into different vectors, and therefore it has the ability to give you the most accurate information within those documents. If you were to upload this in ChatGPT, I promise it won't be able to give you this much detailed information. That's why I mentioned at the beginning of this video that this is way more specific for interaction with your data and with your document, because it does give you that ability to have very precise interaction and therefore grab the most related and most updated information that's in that document. So let's try something different, right? All right, so this time I'm going to ask it, can you explain the differences between NVIDIA's GAAP and non-GAAP financial measure for Q1 F25 and why these adjustments were made? And the reason I'm asking it is because earlier we saw it when we searched for that 427% increase. It said non-GAAP GM. So GAAP GM and non-GAAP GM. So let's ask it to see and give us that information, what the difference is and why that was adjusted. All right, perfect. There you go. So it gives you a really good explanation of what that is, how that works. And again, all of this data is being grabbed, as you can see right here, from the Pinecone vector store. So it's not just making things up. So when it comes to getting precise data, this is the way to go, because if you were to use a large language model, a generic large language model like ChatGPT, it won't be able to give you accurate information. But this, you can be sure that it's giving you the most accurate information, because it's actually grabbing that information from the document that you uploaded. Okay, so another thing to point out here, we use chat as a trigger. You can actually get rid of this and add a Gmail. So for example, let me get rid of this and add your Gmail as a trigger. And the use case for this would be, let's say you have a business or even a personal brand, or let's say a content creator, whatever it may be. You can add your documents that you can train this AI agent and connect this to your Gmail account, and therefore have that as a trigger. And the way to do that is you will just go ahead and add, search for Gmail. And this time we're going to go to triggers. And the bottom, as you can see here, triggers, it says on message received. So this means that every time there's a new message, you can identify and filter it, right? So you can say, you can filter it based on label, you can filter it based on the context of the text. And once you do that, you'll be able to attach that into your question and answer chain. And therefore you can connect this to where, if a user is asking a particular question, let's say about your business, and that business document is all stored in your vector database, this agent will be able to grab the information that that the user is asking, and you can even completely automate this. So you can ask it to send that message, or they can send you a draft, right? So if you search for Gmail, you can say send a message, send a draft, reply to a message, or in the bottom, as you can see here, draft action, create a draft, so that way you have the chance to review it. Or again, if you test this out a few times and you're fully confident, you can just click on send message, and this will be able to send the response that the user is asking. And in this one, as you can see, this is being grabbed from our question and answer chain, and therefore you can send this to the user, and you can grab this from the email of the user that's sending this inquiry. So you can see you can really automate this for your business, for your personal brand, or however it may be. But obviously for a chat, you can use this for a chat, and then therefore if you have a business, you can embed this chat, and it then gives you the guidance on how to do that. So you can actually embed this chat box into your website, let's say, or into your service or whatever it may be, to be able to have the customers interact with it and basically be a personal assistant for your business. All right, well, hopefully you found this helpful. Try this out. You can upload and interact with any document. You can have a larger document, but just to keep in mind, if you have a document that, let's say, is 200 pages long, you want to come here and make sure that you're splitting it into larger chunks. So let's say if you have a document that's 200 pages long, change this to like 5,000 and maybe like 500, so that way it can split that larger document to smaller chunks, and therefore we'll be able to have better interaction with it, and it will give you the proper answers. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But for other documents, if it's like, anywhere between 1 to 50 pages, then that 3,000 is fine. And again, you can, take a look at use Perplexity GPT or whatever it is to understand what embeddings are, because this will give you additional information of how vectors are stored and how the vector database works. All right, try this out. Let me know what you think. Put your questions in the comments below. And if you found something interesting, let me know. Would love to learn as well. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.